All right, so here it is, our last Learn Together, and I just want to update you on the Develop at 5, and you may or may not have seen my content on your Learn Together 16, that by the time most of you had replied, I had already made a decision. So I took your feedback into consideration, and that'll be part 2, so we'll go over that. So the first part of this, which is really most of your points here, is really just about refactoring the code that you had from last week, your new using prototypal inheritance and the syntax that we learned to referencing the proto. We're going to redo that into a class. And as he'd mentioned, as Andrew had mentioned, this is really just syntactical sugar. But in some ways, I would disagree with that because I think there are some new things that were introduced that I didn't see in a just the old style, which was more the getters and the setters. But for the most part, it should be relatively easy for you to take the code from last week. Now, what I did is I actually copied the code and put it in a new file, just so I could keep the old one for reference if I wanted it, and then I could do that. I could have both available. So in here, right, here's my constructor. I need 3 values in order to set an initial instance of this class, which is asset. And so this hasn't changed from last time. Matter of fact, none of this has changed. The only thing that's changed for me, and that should change for you, right, is just refactoring this to have the constructor and then the methods all in one block called class. Okay? So again, I'm not going to go over it in detail because that will be what you want. One thing I do want you to do though is I want you to take a print screen of your program running here, right? So I'm going to do it clear, right? So just the idea of running the output so that we can see it, and also providing a link to your code. Okay, so this is our last Learn Together. Okay, the second part, which is still worth points, is for you to review the requirements for Develop at 5, and in your reply, give me any feedback and or questions that you might have. So in Develop at 5, I have now 2 options that you can choose. You can choose, and honestly, I think the first option is going to take less time, but I like giving the fact that everyone mentioned, not everyone, I think most of you mentioned that you'd rather do the code up for section 11. I'm like, I'm good with that, right? The one thing I am going to say here though is that if you choose, now you can choose one or the other. I wouldn't choose both. If you're going to choose both, you don't have a lot of time to do it. But you know, if you want to do that, reach out to me and we'll talk about what that could do for you. But in this case, this has not really changed. I went over the requirements for this last time, and then I do still have on this option 25 points of extra credit, and that would be, you could apply this to any of the previous developments, and this is where you take it and you just create an order form for your class, your restaurant class, that includes a method for taking an order. So again, refer to this if you want more detail on how I did that. And then I did give you a little more verbiage here, or a little more output, because I cleaned up my output a little bit just to show you an example of what that would look like, given the methods that I required. Okay, so you can check that out. And then of course option 2, the one I brought up. But you know, the code up itself is 45 points, but I'm going to weigh more heavily the write up this time. Because, well, for various reasons, I'm going to weight this heavier, right? So it's still important that you do the My Notes. Here's the name I want you to give it. And for each video, write a summary, and then of what you learned, and then how you did on the challenges. Okay? So on both of these items, and this is where I want to chat about this, on both of these items, there's a course feedback. So it's worth 5 points. And it's important to me because... So by the way, check this out, it's on both of them, right? So both of them have a small part, but a part of the points for you to give course feedback. So I really appreciate, you're thinking about, what would you have liked to have seen me change about this course, or where did you feel worked well about this course? And in your thinking, I want you to consider this, right? Is that next semester I'm teaching Node.js. And right now I'm teaching it in the classroom. And let me just bring up the course because I'm actually already starting to work on it and I'm giving it some thought. And it's CIT94. And I'm actually considering running this class, even though it's a face-to-face class, very much almost identical to the way we've run this class. And part of the reason I'm doing this is that I think some of you might be able to take it if I do this. And so I'd like to see more enrollment. Right now there's, I think, around 13. So it'd be nice to get a few more folks in there. And really it gives me a chance because this time next year I'm going to be running Node.js in the back 9 of the fall 2017 and JavaScript in the front 9. So this gives me a chance to look and to look at my content to see how well it went. Okay. So again, and this would be again the idea of 5 code reviews, having to come in for those code reviews or doing them virtually, but also doing the learn togethers. So this is why your feedback here is so helpful, because as I'm doing this course, what part of what you just experienced in this class do you feel worked well? What would you say I could do differently to maybe help more students succeed? And I would definitely like to hear that as I'm working on, like I said, next semester's Node.js class. I am very much leaning towards using Andrew Mead's class. I've been looking at a lot of other content out there in his Udemy course. I found that many students really enjoyed this course, and there's ways I could update it where I feel like it's becoming a little dated here. So anyway, considering that, how many of you, if I did offer the option for students to completely take it online, would be able to take it? Would that increase my enrollment for you to be able to do that? And if you already enrolled, right, what do you see we could take from what you've learned in this course as far as the format and include it in a face-to-face class? These are all the things I'm considering right now. And that would be great to hear in your feedback of the course, right? So, but in this Learn Together, coming back, circling back around, right? You do your refactor of what you wrote for week 16 into a class, do a print screen and the link to your JS, and then review the develop at 5. And in here, I want you to tell me which option you're going to take, right? So which option are you going to actually do here? And print screen, I'm gonna do it with you so that you're live with me, and print screen of your output. And then here, I want you to give me any questions, or feedback, questions, and then I'm going to say this, feedback, questions, and I'd really like this, right? And which option you are going to take for this last develop it. Okay. Which option are you going? Okay, I think that works. Okay, so that's what I want to have for week 17. And I just want to thank you. I'll have one more attendance that will be for next week. And but I just want to preface by saying, right, I really appreciate the students that have hung in there the whole semester. I hope you feel your time has been used wisely, and that you walk away feeling like you have a new understanding, or an understanding of client-side JavaScript. All right, have a great one. Talk to you later.